I already know that I'm a bit late to the party in talking about this, but recently the entire Democratic base has been riled up over what Elizabeth Warren did. I mean, she recently railed against a Wells Fargo executive and implied that he should be investigated and potentially even jailed for the fraud that he committed. So take a look, and then I'll tell you my opinion as to whether or not this is really a courageous move.
So when investors saw good cross-sell numbers, they did while this scam was going on. That was very good for you personally, wasn't it, Mr. Stumpf? Do you know how much money, how much value your stock holdings in Wells Fargo gained while this scam was underway?
Well, first of all, it was not a scam, and cross-sell is a way of deepening relationships. When customers
We've been through this, Mr. Stumpf. I asked you a very simple question. Do you know how much the value of your stock went up while this scam was going on?
It's all of my compensation is in our public
Do
filing.
you know how much it was?
It's all in the public filing.
Oh, you're right. It is all in the public records because I looked it up. While this scam was going on, you personally held an average of 6.75 million shares of Wells stock. The share price during this time period went up by about $30, which comes out to more than $200 million in gains, all for you personally. And thanks in part to those cross-sell numbers that you talked about on every one of those calls. You know, here's what really gets me about this, Mr. Stumpf. If one of your tellers took a handful of $20 bills out of the cash drawer, they'd probably be looking at criminal charges for theft. They could end up in prison. But you squeezed your employees to the breaking point so they would cheat customers and you could drive up the value of your stock and put hundreds of millions of dollars in your own pocket. And when it all blew up, you kept your job, you kept your multi-million-dollar bonuses, and you went on television to blame thousands of $12 an hour employees who were just trying to meet cross-sell quotas that made you rich. This is about accountability. You should resign. You should give back the money that you took while this scam was going on, and you should be criminally investigated by both the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission. You know, this just isn't right. A cashier who steals a handful of 20s is held accountable, but Wall Street executives who almost never hold themselves accountable, not now and not in 2008 when they crushed the worldwide economy. The only way that Wall Street will change is if executives face jail time when they preside over massive frauds. We need tough new laws to hold corporate executives personally accountable, and we need tough prosecutors who have the courage to go after people at the top. Until then, it will be business as usual. And at giant banks like Wells Fargo, that seems to mean cheating as many customers, investors, and employees as they possibly can.
So at first I watched this and I loved it. You know, I was lured back into Elizabeth Warren. She has a way of doing that with me. She was one of my favorite politicians prior to this election. And even though I'm upset with her, I love this. But is this really courageous? Many people are saying that this takes courage. Well, sure, it takes some degree of courage, but I don't think it's very courageous for Elizabeth Warren to do this because I don't know if we're going to get anything more from Elizabeth Warren than this. Is this the best we can expect from her? Because she had multiple opportunities to actually fight for real change and really investigate these crooks and jail them, but she didn't want to do that. She could have ran for president. She probably would have beat Hillary Clinton. She could have endorsed Bernie Sanders. She didn't do that. He probably would have won in Massachusetts. So, I mean, when the opportunity presented itself to Elizabeth Warren to really take a stand, to get real change, to hold these crooks accountable, she chose not to do that. So I can't help but wonder, is this really the best that we're going to get out of Elizabeth Warren? Is that all she's willing to do? She's going to yell at these crooks on Wall Street, which, I mean, look, someone has to do it. But I mean, I want something more than that. You know, I want more than a clip of Elizabeth Warren railing against Wall Street. And again, she went on like MSNBC on Rachel Maddow, and I can't help but feel like, you know what, this isn't very courageous, because you don't really want change. You just want to promote yourself by yelling at Wall Street crooks every now and then. But if, you know, the opportunity comes forward to you to actually fight for real change, are you going to take it? I don't know now. I mean, look, she has her progressive record. She's been consistent throughout her career. She, you know, fought for the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which does great work. But I mean, does she really want systemic change? Does she really want institutional change, substantial change that will tie the hands of Wall Street and get them to stop being corrupt? I don't know. I'm questioning that now, because even if she's not taking money from them, I can't help but think that she's a coward, because she's not really willing to fight and actually do things that will really get them to stop being corrupt, because she passed up those opportunities. She didn't want to run. She didn't want to endorse Bernie. So, I mean, if this is all we're going to get from Elizabeth Warren, yay. But I mean, it's only going to be exciting for so long. In the end, I'm torn on this. I'm glad that she did it. I'm never going to come out and say, don't do that to any politician. I wish more people would join her and follow her lead on this, but it doesn't mean very much to me anymore. When I see Elizabeth Warren railing against the big banks, it doesn't mean what it once meant to me. I looked at Elizabeth Warren as a leader and thought, this is someone who I can trust. She really wants change. She's going to stand up against Wall Street corruption. But I mean, when push comes to shove, she showed that she doesn't have the spine to actually fight for these things. So I mean, if this is all that we're going to get from Elizabeth Warren, then cool. But I don't really think you're courageous.